Sometimes the people closest to us can hurt us the most. When the dream of a family home turns into a fight for dignity, there's only one thing left to do: never give up. The price of a family home. 2 years ago, Emily, a 28-year-old woman with an insatiable thirst for change, met Ryan. He was a man who embodied both lightness and strength, kindness and a certain spark that made me believe in the impossible. We fell in love quickly, as if some invisible force was pushing us together, and soon after we got married. Life swept us up in a whirlwind of plans and hopes. We dreamed of a home, not just a roof over our heads, but a true family nest, filled with light, warmth, and the laughter of children. To make that dream a reality, we worked tirelessly. We opened a small coffee shop, pouring all our energy and savings into it. Every dollar we saved, we imagined our future child running barefoot through the grass in our own backyard. A year after our wedding, I found out I was pregnant. The pregnancy was difficult. Constant fatigue, nausea, anxiety. But I refused to give in. I kept working, meeting with suppliers, smiling at customers, even when all I wanted was to lie down and close my eyes. Ryan was always there, supporting me, whispering, "We're almost there. Soon we'll have our home, and our baby will grow up surrounded by love." His words anchored me, keeping me from drowning in fear. One rainy evening, as the scent of fresh pastries filled the coffee shop, Ryan showed me photos of a property. "Look, Em." His eyes sparkled with excitement. "We could build a house here with huge windows, so the sun fills the living room. And out back a garden. Can you picture our little one running through the grass?" I smiled, though my heart tightened with worry. "It's expensive, Ryan," I sighed. "But if we keep working like this, maybe in a year we can afford something like it." "We'll make it," he said confidently, wrapping his arms around me. "Together we're unstoppable." We worked ourselves to the bone. The coffee shop became our second home. I'd get up before dawn to accept deliveries, and Ryan would stay up late doing paperwork. We saved on everything. No vacations, no new clothes, even drinking only the leftover coffee from the day. "Emily, you need to rest," my mom would say, eyeing my growing belly. "You're expecting, you need peace." "I'm fine, Mom," I'd reply. "Ryan and I are doing this for our future." She'd shake her head, but I was resolute. I believed all the sacrifices would be worth it when we finally lived in our own home with our baby. The day we were supposed to sign the papers for the house, I went into premature labor. Ryan, pale as a sheet, rushed me to the hospital. The doctors said I needed an emergency C-section. I was terrified, but Ryan held my hand and whispered, "It'll be okay. I'm right here." I woke up in the hospital room, weak but overjoyed. Our son was born healthy. Ryan was by my side, smiling, stroking my hair, telling me it was all behind us. "What about the house?" I asked, remembering the paperwork. "It's all taken care of," he replied, but his eyes seemed distant. "Rest now, don't worry about it." I trusted him. He was my husband, my partner, my best friend. A week later, we were discharged and arrived at our new home. It was exactly as I dreamed. Bright, spacious, with big windows and the smell of fresh paint. Ryan organized a family dinner, his parents, my mom, a few friends. Everyone laughed, toasted to new beginnings. I sat with my son in my arms, my heart overflowing with joy. Then, Ryan's mother, Linda, stood up with a glass and said, "Congratulations to me. Now I have a house." Everyone laughed, thinking it was a joke. I smiled, playing along. "Where's your house, Linda?" She looked at me with a sly smile. "Right here, Emily. The one we're sitting in." I froze. The room fell silent. My mom shot me a worried glance. I slowly turned to Ryan. He looked down. Ryan, what does she mean? My voice trembled. He sighed and said calmly as if it were nothing. Yeah, I put the house in Mom's name while you were in the hospital. My world collapsed. I felt the blood drain from my face. The guests were silent. Only Linda kept smiling as if nothing had happened. But this is our house, I managed. We worked for it together. I worked through my pregnancy so we could buy it. Calm down. Ryan tried to take my hand, but I pulled away. We're together. What does it matter whose name is on it? It's just paperwork. Just paperwork? I was almost shouting. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you do this behind my back? Linda interjected, her voice cold. Emily, don't make a scene. Ryan did the right thing. I'm older, I have more experience. I can manage this house better. I looked at her, then at my husband, realizing, in this house I was nobody. That night after the family dinner was the longest of my life. I lay in the dark, listening to my son's steady breathing, trying to process that everything Ryan and I had worked for wasn't really ours. Ryan slept beside me as if nothing had happened, but I couldn't close my eyes, questions spinning in my head. Why? How? What now? In the morning, I tried to talk to Ryan calmly, though I was boiling inside. Ryan, why did you do this? I asked when we were alone in the kitchen. You knew how much this house meant to me. Why didn't you tell me? He set down his mug, rubbing his forehead tiredly. I didn't want to worry you. You were in the hospital after surgery. Mom suggested putting the house in her name to protect it. In case something happened, debts, lawsuits. She said it would be safer. What debts? I could barely hold back tears. We did everything together, we have no debts. Why did you decide for me? Because I'm your husband. He raised his voice, then stopped himself. I wanted what was best for our family. And I'm not part of this family? I stood up, unable to sit any longer. Why didn't you even ask me? This is betrayal, Ryan. He was silent, staring at the floor. I left the room so he wouldn't see me cry. For the first time, I felt like a stranger in my own home. I decided to talk to Linda. Maybe she could explain. I invited her for tea, trying to keep my composure. Linda, I want to understand, I began. Why is the house in your name? Ryan and I bought it together. She looked at me with a patronizing smile, as if I were a naive child. Emily, you're still young, she said. Ryan did the right thing trusting me. A house is serious business, not a toy. I can guarantee it stays in the family. But I'm family too, I protested. I worked just as hard as Ryan to make this house ours. Why wasn't I asked? You were in the hospital. She cut me off. And honestly, you're being too dramatic. The house is only mine on paper. You live here, raise your child. What's the problem? The problem is I was deceived. My voice shook. This was our house, and now I feel like a guest. She shrugged. If you're making yourself miserable, that's your problem. Ryan did what's best for everyone. I realized, to her I was nothing. She didn't see me as an equal, didn't think I had any right to this house. A week passed, but the pain didn't fade. I felt trapped. On one side, my love for Ryan and our son. On the other, the betrayal I couldn't shake. How could I live in a house that legally wasn't mine? What if Linda decided to kick me out? What if our marriage didn't survive and I was left with nothing? I called my friend, a lawyer. She advised me to gather all evidence of my financial contributions. Bank statements, receipts, contracts. But almost all the money had gone through Ryan, and I wasn't sure I could prove anything. You need to talk to Ryan, she said. If he won't put the house in both your names, that's a red flag. It means he doesn't see you as an equal partner. I decided to try again. That evening after our son fell asleep, I sat across from Ryan. I can't live like this, I said. This house is ours. I want it in both our names. It's important to me. He looked at me exhausted. I told you it's just paperwork. Why are you bringing this up again? Because it's not just paperwork to me. I couldn't hold back tears. You did this behind my back, gave me no choice. How can I trust you after this? He was silent for a long time, then said, Fine, I'll think about it. But you have to understand. Mom won't just give up the house. Why should she decide? I was almost shouting. This is our house, Ryan. Ours. He stood up and left, slamming the door. I was left alone holding our child, feeling my world crumble. I started saving money in a separate account just in case. I scheduled a consultation with a lawyer to see if I had any chance of proving the house was jointly ours. But every day in that house I felt like an outsider. Linda would come and go as she pleased, acting as if it was her territory. Ryan pretended everything was fine. Time in the new house passed strangely. Days blurred together in a routine of caring for our son, rare smiles from Ryan and constant tension, as if an unspoken question hung in the air. More and more I felt like a guest in my own life. Even the walls, which once seemed like the embodiment of a dream, now pressed in on me with coldness. One evening when Ryan was late at work and Linda had come over to help with her grandson, I overheard her talking loudly on the phone in the living room. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but her voice carried. No, I'm not going to sign anything over, she said irritably. The house is mine, period. Emily needs to stop dreaming. Ryan should understand that family isn't just a wife, but a mother too. I froze in the hallway, clutching my son's pajamas. My heart pounded in my ears. So it wasn't an accident, not just a formality, but a carefully planned move. I felt a wave of anger and despair rise inside me. That night I barely slept. Ryan came home late, tired, smelling of coffee and other people's conversations. I wanted to talk but couldn't bring myself to. There was too much left unsaid. The next day I went to see the lawyer. She listened carefully, asked a few clarifying questions and sighed. Unfortunately, your situation isn't uncommon. If the house is in your mother-in-law's name, you have no legal rights to it. But if you can prove you contributed financially, you might be able to claim a share. The key is to gather documents, statements, any evidence. I left her office with a heavy heart. All I had were memories of our joint efforts, exhaustion, and hopes. The paperwork was with Ryan and he was growing more distant. That evening I tried to talk to him again. Ryan, I saw a lawyer, I said quietly after our son was asleep. I need you to show me all the documents for the house. I want to know what rights we have. He looked at me with tired sadness. Why are you making this so complicated? We're a family. Isn't that enough? It's not enough, I replied. I need to know that our son and I have a future. I don't want to live in fear that we could be thrown out. He was silent for a long time, then got up and went to his office, slamming the door. I was left alone, feeling the gap between us widen. In the days that followed, Linda started coming over more often. She managed the house as if she owned it, rearranging furniture, inviting guests without asking me. Ryan withdrew further, and I felt the ground slipping from under my feet. One evening as I was putting our son to bed, he asked, "Mom, why does Grandma say the house is hers?" I didn't know what to say. A lump formed in my throat. I kissed his head and whispered, "Everything will be okay, sweetheart. I promise." That night I made a decision. I wouldn't let them take away my future. I would fight for myself, for my son, for the right to be the mistress of my own life. I started acting carefully, almost secretly. Every evening when the house was quiet, I went through old messages, searched for receipts, statements, any trace of our investments in the house. Sometimes I felt like a spy in my own life. But the fear of being thrown out was stronger than my exhaustion. Ryan stayed late at work more and more, and when he came home, he was silent and distant. A wall of mistrust and resentment grew between us. I tried to talk to him, but he avoided the conversations, citing tiredness or urgent business. One evening, just as I was about to put our son to bed, the doorbell rang. Linda stood on the porch with two unfamiliar women. "These are my friends," she announced without asking permission. "We'll be having tea in the kitchen." I felt everything inside me tighten. I couldn't take it anymore. "Linda," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, "could you at least let me know in advance? This is my home too." She gave me a cold look. "Emily, don't forget your place. The house is in my name. You're here only because I allow it." Her words cut deep. I barely held back from screaming. Instead, I took my son and went to the bedroom, sitting in the dark for a long time, listening to the laughter of strangers in my kitchen. That night, I wrote Ryan a long message. I told him about my fears, about how much it hurt to feel like a stranger in my own home, about how I couldn't live like this anymore. There was no reply. The next day, I decided to talk to my mom. She listened carefully, then hugged me tightly. "Honey, you're strong. But sometimes you have to protect yourself even if it hurts. Don't let anyone take away your dignity." Her words gave me strength. I gathered all the documents I could find, made copies, and sent them to my lawyer friend. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I had some control over the situation. That evening, Ryan came home earlier than usual. He looked tired, but there was worry in his eyes. We need to talk," he said. I sat across from him, ready for anything. "I saw your message," he began. "I understand you feel betrayed. But you have to understand me too. My mom, she's always been an authority for me. I didn't want to hurt her. I thought this would be best for everyone." "And what about me?" I asked quietly. "Did you think about me?" He lowered his head. "I don't know how to fix this," he admitted. "But I don't want to lose you." In that moment I realized he was lost, not an enemy but not an ally either. He was tangled in others' expectations and his own fears. "I don't want a war, Ryan," I said. "I just want to know that our son and I have a home. I want you on my side." He nodded, but I saw doubt in his eyes. I knew the fight was just beginning. The house was filled with uneasy silence. Ryan stayed late at work, and I spent more and more time with our son, trying to avoid Linda. She seemed to be waiting for this. Her presence was felt in every detail. Rearranged things, new rules she introduced without discussion. One morning I found my favorite mugs gone from the kitchen shelf. In their place were heavy porcelain cups with gold rims, Linda's style. I felt her pushing me out of the house, even in the smallest things. That same day, I received an email from my lawyer friend. She had found several important documents proving my financial contributions to the house. It was the first ray of hope in a long time. I printed the papers and hid them in a safe place. That evening, when Ryan came home, I decided to have an honest conversation. "Ryan, I can't live in this tension anymore," I said, showing him the documents. "I don't want a war, but I won't be a shadow in this house. I'm ready to fight for my rights." He looked at the papers, then at me. Pain flickered in his eyes. "I didn't realize things had gotten this bad," he said quietly. "I thought it would all work itself out." "It won't," I replied. "If you're not ready to stand with me, I'll defend myself." For the first time, I saw not just confusion but fear in his eyes. He understood. I was no longer the Emily who would endure for the sake of an illusion of family happiness. The next day, Linda called another family meeting. She gathered us in the kitchen, her voice cold and commanding. "I see there are disagreements in this house," she said. "I won't tolerate scandals. If someone doesn't like my rules, the door is open." I looked at Ryan. He was silent, fists clenched under the table. "I'm not leaving," I said firmly. "I've invested as much in this house as you have. And if I have to, I'll prove it in court." A heavy silence fell. For the first time, Linda looked uncertain. "You wouldn't dare," she hissed. "We'll see," I replied. That evening, for the first time, I felt strong. I knew there would be many challenges ahead, but now I wouldn't let anyone take away my right to happiness. After that conversation, the atmosphere in the house became almost unbearable. Linda stopped hiding her irritation, and Ryan withdrew even more, as if hoping the storm would pass on its own. I, on the other hand, felt a surge of determination. Now I had not only words but also evidence, and I was ready to go all the way. I started consulting with my lawyer more often, gathering new documents, looking for witnesses who could confirm my contributions. My lawyer friend supported me, advising how to behave with Ryan and his mother, so they couldn't accuse me of aggression or instability. One evening, as I was coming home from a walk with my son, I saw a woman standing by our gate, nervously clutching a folder of papers. "Are you Emily?" she asked as I approached. "Yes, and you are?" "My name is Olivia. I'm a realtor. Linda asked me to appraise the house for a possible sale." My breath caught. I thanked her and hurried inside. My heart was pounding. Was Linda really planning to get rid of us for good? That evening, I confronted her in the kitchen. "Are you planning to sell the house?" I asked directly. She didn't even try to deny it. "I have every right," she replied coldly. "If you think you can stop me, you're mistaken." I held back my tears. In that moment, I realized this was no longer just about the house, but about my dignity and my son's future. I called my lawyer friend and told her what had happened. She advised me to immediately file a claim in court to recognize my property rights and request an injunction to prevent the sale until the matter was resolved. I spent the whole night gathering documents, recalling every detail, every dollar invested in the house. I was no longer afraid. I knew that if I didn't protect myself now, it would be too late. The next morning, I went to court. In the hallway among strangers, I felt for the first time in a long while not like a victim, but like someone fighting for her life. When I returned home, Ryan was waiting for me at the door. There was something new in his eyes, anxiety, confusion, but also respect. "You're really going through with this?" he asked. "Yes," I replied. "I won't let anyone decide for me anymore." He nodded, and for the first time in a long time, I saw not just fear but hope in his eyes. The legal battle began quickly and unexpectedly for everyone. Linda was sure her authority and connections would solve everything, But I was ready to fight. My lawyer friend helped me file the lawsuit, gather evidence, and prepare witnesses. At first, Ryan kept his distance, but as he saw my determination, he began to question whose side he was really on. The house was filled with icy silence. We barely spoke, each living our own life, meeting only in the kitchen or hallway. Linda openly ignored me, and Ryan stayed late at work, as if he was afraid to come home to a house full of tension. The first court hearing was brief. The judge listened to both sides, reviewed the documents, and ordered an expert evaluation. I saw Linda nervous for the first time, losing her confidence. Ryan sat beside me, head down, unable to meet my eyes. After court, we stepped outside. I paused to catch my breath, and suddenly Ryan gently touched my hand. "I'm sorry, Em," he said quietly. "I never thought it would go this far. I never wanted to lose you." I looked at him. There was pain, regret, and something else I hadn't seen in a long time. The desire to be close. "We can still fix this," I said. "But only if you're with me, not against me." He nodded, and for the first time in a long time, I felt I wasn't alone. That evening when we returned home, Linda greeted us with an icy stare. "You've betrayed your mother," she snapped at Ryan. "I'm protecting my family," he replied calmly. That night I lay awake for a long time. I knew there were still many trials ahead, but now I had an ally. I was no longer alone in this fight. The court hearings dragged on for weeks. I spoke about every dollar I had invested, about sleepless nights, about the dreams Ryan and I had built together. Witnesses confirmed my words, and the documents I had worked so hard to collect became my shield. One evening, Ryan came to me as I was putting our son to bed. "I talked to Mom," he said. "She won't give up easily. But I'm with you, Em. All the way." I hugged him, and for the first time in a long while, I felt warmth return to our home. The court process continued, each new day bringing more exhaustion, but also more resolve. I learned to be strong, not to let fear take over. Ryan kept his word. He became my ally, supporting me at every step, even if it meant open conflict with his mother. Linda didn't give up. She tried to play on our emotions, threatened, caused scenes, even tried to turn Ryan against me, reminding him of old grievances and his duty to his family. But now he was steadfast. "Mom, that's enough," he told her one day when she tried to blame me for everything. "I'm an adult. I choose how to live and who to protect." She left, slamming the door, and after that, she started coming to the house less and less. I knew she would never forgive us, but for the first time in a long time I felt relief. One evening, as Ryan and I sat in the kitchen, he suddenly spoke about the future. "Em, if the court rules in your favor, what do you want to do next?" he asked. I thought for a moment. For the first time in a long time, I could dream not just about surviving but about a real future. "I want us to have a home where we're both the owners," I said. "Where our son grows up in love and safety. I want us to be a family, not enemies under one roof." Ryan took my hand. "I want that too. I'm sorry for everything that happened." I smiled through my tears. In that moment I realized, even if we lost in court, I had already won the most important thing: self-respect and my husband's support. Soon a letter arrived from the court. The final hearing was scheduled, where the decision would be announced. I didn't sleep all night, running through every possible outcome in my mind. Ryan was by my side, holding my hand, giving me strength. On the day of the hearing, I put on my best dress, pulled my hair back, and looked at myself in the mirror. I saw not the frightened woman I had been, but a strong, confident Emily, ready to defend her happiness. The courtroom was quiet. The judge read the decision, and every word echoed in my heart. I squeezed Ryan's hand and he squeezed back. The court recognizes Emily's right to a share of the house, the judge finally said. I couldn't believe what I'd heard at first. Ryan smiled and tears of relief, victory, and freedom welled up in my eyes. After the court, it felt as if the house itself exhaled. The tension that had built up for months began to dissipate. Linda disappeared from our lives as suddenly as she had entered them with her claims of ownership. She didn't attend the last hearings, didn't call Ryan, didn't try to talk to me. I felt no gloating. Only exhaustion and quiet gratitude that this chapter was finally over. Ryan seemed to be learning anew how to be a husband and father. He spent more time with our son, helped around the house, and sometimes even suggested new ideas for the coffee shop we still ran together. In the evenings we sat on the porch listening to the wind outside, and for the first time in a long time, talked about the future without fear or resentment. I officially registered my share of the house. The papers, which once seemed unattainable, now lay in a drawer. A symbol that I could protect myself and my loved ones. I was no longer afraid that one day I'd be left on the street with my child. One evening after our son was asleep and the house was unusually quiet, Ryan came over and hugged me. "I'm sorry, Em," he said softly. "I was weak. I let my mom control our lives. I didn't realize soon enough what I was losing." I leaned into him, feeling the pain finally begin to fade. "The important thing is that we're together now," I replied. "And we have a home we built ourselves no matter what." That night I lay awake for a long time, thinking about how much I had changed over the past year. From a naive, love-struck girl to a woman who could defend herself and her happiness. I was no longer afraid of the future. A few weeks later, we held a small family celebration. We invited friends, my mom, even neighbors we'd barely spoken to before. The house was filled with laughter, the smell of baked goods and fresh coffee. Our son ran through the yard, and as I watched him, I realized it had all been worth it. That evening, after the guests had left, Ryan brought 2 glasses of wine out to the porch. We sat together, looking at the stars in silence. A silence filled with more love than any words could express. I knew there would still be challenges ahead, but now I wasn't alone. I had a home, a family, and faith in myself. Months passed. Life gradually settled into a peaceful rhythm, but I was no longer the same. I had learned not to fear change, not to depend on others' opinions, not to wait for miracles, but to create them with my own hands. Ryan had changed too. He became more attentive, open, willing to listen and understand. We made decisions together, planned together, and celebrated our son's successes together. One day, as Ryan and I were working in the yard, he suddenly stopped, looked at me and said, "Em, I want this house to be truly ours. I'm ready to buy out Mom's share if she agrees. I want there to be no more shadows from the past." I smiled. I no longer needed proof. I already knew this house was mine because I had earned it. But Ryan's offer was a sign. He really had changed. He had chosen me and our family. A few weeks later, Linda agreed to the deal. She didn't come to say goodbye, didn't say a word. She just signed the papers and disappeared from our lives for good. I held no grudge against her. Everyone chooses their own path. That evening, Ryan, our son, and I had a quiet family dinner. We laughed, reminisced, and made plans for the future. I looked at my boys and felt, now I was truly home. Years later, I often remembered that difficult time when it felt like everything was falling apart. I remembered the fear, the despair, the sleepless nights, the tears, and the loneliness. But now those memories didn't hurt. They had become a part of me, making me stronger. Our son grew up to be an independent, curious boy. He often asked why we cherished this house so much, why I always smiled when I looked at the garden outside. I answered simply, because this house is a symbol of our family, our love, and our strength. Sometimes when friends gathered in our home, I caught myself thinking that happiness isn't about walls or paperwork, but about the people beside you. I learned to forgive, to let go, to believe in myself and those I love. And if someone asked me if I regretted having to go through so many trials, I would answer no. Because only by weathering the storm can you truly appreciate the peace and the light. Now I knew. A home is not just a place. A home is us. Emily's story is not just about family conflict and the fight for a house. It's a story of growing up, of finding oneself, of learning to defend your boundaries, and not letting even those closest to you take away your right to happiness. The house she fought for became a symbol not only of material well-being, but of inner freedom, dignity, and self-belief. Many women find themselves in similar situations. They trust, they sacrifice, they work for a shared dream, only to face betrayal or indifference. This story is a reminder. Don't lose yourself, don't dissolve in others' expectations, don't be afraid to stand up for your rights, even if it feels like the whole world is against you. Let this story be a reminder. It's never too late to start defending yourself, your dreams, and your right to happiness. Even if the path is hard, it will lead to the light, if you walk it with faith in yourself and love for life. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new, captivating real-life stories.